Bulldog fans, welcome into another year of Inside Samford Athletics presented by Alabama Power, kicking off this season with a Samford soccer season preview. I'm John McAfee, joined of course by head coach Todd Yelton. And Todd, as always, appreciate your time, and I know a lot of people, myself included, really looking forward to this soccer season.
Yeah, I mean, it's I've been here for a minute, so I guess when they keep letting you do it, you're pretty excited about it.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the expectations around the team this year. I know you told me after that first practice, you guys have had expectations the last several years coming into the season, but I think from an outside perspective, it feels a little bit different this year, and maybe that's because you went and won an NCAA tournament game, you ended in the top 30 of RPI last year, you're receiving votes in the preseason poll this year, and you're bringing almost everyone back from your team. So the expectations, I mean, I'm sure internally you guys have big expectations as well. How do you manage those expectations going into the season, and do you approach it any differently, or is it just kind of another season?
I don't. I mean, I know that sounds kind of elementary, right? You know, I really do believe it's more about the process. You know, kids show up, do the best every day, and our kids work really, really hard, and I think it shows through when we play. And you can't walk down the hall of Pete Hanna and somebody not expecting you to beat North Carolina or Florida State, which is a little bit insanity. But we're just going to try to get better game by game. And I think you can put yourself in a really bad situation where you've just put tremendous pressure on yourself that it's not needed. We're excited about it and look at it as just a great opportunity. But there's a lot of teams on our schedule that are going to have something to say about that. So, you know, we'll have a better idea in November how it's all gone than we do right now.
Well, again, you bring just about everyone back. It feels like you might have the biggest roster in college soccer history, but you've lost a couple of key players too. You had 4 seniors from last year who have departed: Zoe Perrin, Audrey Kleiman, Grace Somi, and Alyssa Frazier. And I know from a leadership perspective, that group meant a lot, and also on the field, especially with Alyssa Frazier. I mean, she's one where I don't know that you can replace her, but you certainly have to try to replace her production. I mean, just a threat to score on every set piece. That group, talk a little bit about trying to replace them from a leadership perspective.
Well, I mean, in the times I've done this, as a group, right, as an entire group, I don't know that I've had the pleasure of working with a better group, right, from top to bottom. That's small, so it's 4. But I really believe in the idea of servant leadership, and those kids embodied it in like a way I've never seen. And it was incredibly humbling for me to watch and be a part of. I'm so proud of them and the people they are. And I think they set a great example for our kids who are rolling into leadership positions now, right? And if you just look at purely from a soccer standpoint, I mean, there's a lot of production out of that group. Frazier's probably at the height of that. You know, we were incredibly difficult to deal with on set pieces, corners, and that sort of stuff, you know. I think Joe's pretty excited that she's gone because he can actually mow the field now because she spent a lot of time training and getting better at it. We stick around and they move on, right? And so I'm just excited to see what they do in life because they're just fantastic people.
Alyssa Frazier now, by the way, playing professionally in Sweden. Want to talk about the returning class as well, specifically that senior group. Obviously a really large class that's had a huge impact. 4 of them are on the preseason All-SoCon team: Taylor Yount, Kyla Reynolds, Mary Raymond, and Kylie Gaza. To talk a little bit about that senior class and what they've meant and the level of accountability that they hold each other to on the field.
Well, you know, I mean, I think you can see the upward trend even, you know. I mean, historically here we've been pretty good, right? I mean, we were about a top 50, 60 program over the last bit, you know, and we had some great players. But as a group, they've accomplished quite a lot. And we talk about family a lot, and they're definitely like sisters, you know, so they push and pull each other. Sometimes that makes easier days than others. At this point, they've played in a lot of massive games, right? And they've also been through some heartache as well, losing a game in a COVID year that they felt like they should have won. So they've seen the highs and lows of soccer for sure, but they just keep rowing in the same direction and kind of are the catalyst of what we do here. And they probably have the most to say about our season. So, you know, I know culture is a buzzword in recruiting, but I just love the culture here. And, you know, I don't really feel like there's a kid who's like, I need to get a ton of credit, right? I think they get the credit in the team doing well, and that's probably in this day and age of college athletics or athletics in general, that's not always the easiest thing to attain.
Want to ask you about the newcomers as well. Obviously, you have a lot of returners, but you have a handful of newcomers as well, a big freshman class, and then you've also got 4 Power 5 transfers coming in, a couple from Ole Miss, 1 from Auburn, 1 from Arkansas. We saw a couple of them make an impact already in that Troy exhibition game. Whitaker Buchanan scored a couple of goals. Leighton Glisson started. That transfer group, those 4 transfers, what are your expectations for them? What have you seen out of them in the fall?
Well, it's, you know, it's not really any different than it is for anybody else, right? Show up, work hard, be a good teammate, care about other people. They are talented. They're super talented, and I do think it's, you know, it's a little bit of a learning curve when when kids come into our program. The way we play and the amount of pressure that we try to put on other teams, and I think they've handled it really, really well, and I think they definitely have made us better. They have absolutely made competition within the squad. They've raised the bar there as far as with the whole group. I'm glad they're here, and I think they fit into the group in just such a great way that it's been kind of just super easy.
Well, let's talk about the non-conference schedule as well, kind of a typical Todd Yelton non-conference schedule. A handful of Power 5 teams and then a lot of teams that finish at or close to the top of their respective leagues. But you've got Ole Miss at home, you've got Auburn at home, you've got West Virginia at a neutral site game, and again, you've got a lot of other good mid-major teams like Murray State, a UAB team that's played you guys tight in the past. Talk a little bit about the non-conference schedule, what you want to see out of your team in that portion of the season.
Well, I mean, in the past it was probably more like looking at it just getting ready for the conference season, right? But if you look at it from last year, we were just a touch off of probably being able to host a first-round NCAA game. So every game matters. Like every one of our games matter, and I mean, right off the bat, we go to Houston and play Rice, who's picked to win Conference USA, and Brian does a great job down there. Their team is going to be really, really good, and maybe the best team on our schedule, at least early on. It's going to be it's a challenging schedule. I'm really looking forward to playing the teams we get to play. I'm incredibly thankful that those teams will play us year in, year out, and that's kind of developed with Ole Miss. And Karen has always played us, and really has been a big part of us building the program here and having an in-state rival with them. And we've never played West Virginia, and so having a chance to play against Nikki and her crew will be quite a challenge. And then when you look across it, and you look at the Kennesaw States and the Murrays and the Armies and those type of things, I mean, there's not an easy game in there. If you're fortunate enough to do well, then you set yourself up quite well going into conference. But you got to win the games, right? We won a lot of games by goal last year, right? In our non-conference schedule. Hopefully it bounces our way again this year.
And then you hit SoCon play, you're going to continue to have a target on your back, picked to win now a 9th straight SoCon championship, which is hard to believe, but it's a league that's gotten a lot better. What are your expectations when you look around the league this year?
I think it's going to be a really good league. I looked, we were doing the rankings and all that kind of stuff and looked across it, right? And, there's a lot of good teams, and, you look through it, and even some of the teams picked towards the bottom of our league, they have quality players. The coaches in this league are very, very good coaches. So it's going to be super challenging, and 9 is kind of insanity, right? Those coaches in this league will have something to say about it, and we'll have good teams. And if you look across the last 8 years of us winning, the ball's bounced our way a few times late to help us, and once again, we hope it keeps bouncing that way.
Coach, appreciate your time as always. We're looking forward to getting the real thing started here pretty soon.
Yeah, thank you for having me, as always.
It's head coach Todd Yelton. I'm John McAfee. Samford will open up the season at Jacksonville State this Thursday night. Their home opener will come out August 25th against Murray State at Shawnee Yelton Field, followed by a big matchup against a ranked Ole Miss team on August 28th. That'll do it for this edition of Inside Samford Athletics, presented by Alabama Power.